Welcome back, Warp Fiends. This week on Warhammer Math, we're looking at the most ancient heroes in the galaxy, the Phoenix Lords. So the new Eldar Codex is finally dropped, and I've been losing my absolute mind over the Phoenix Lords. They are beautiful models, their rules are really fun, and I can't wait to show you what they do. What we're going to do is we're going to pair them with some minimum size units as bodyguards, and then we're going to put them real up close and personal, so they can shoot and then charge, and then we're going to do a breakdown. How much of that damage was done by the Lords, how much of that damage was done by the squads, how much of that damage was done at range versus close up, so that we can figure out how to use them best. Before we move on, I just want to get the noobs up to speed. My name's Blake, and I've written a custom program that allows us to take an attacking unit and a defending unit, and then simulate that attack a million times so that we can see the entire distribution of results. That's the data we're going to look at today. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at some of the detachments and associated stratagems that are going to help boost not just the Phoenix Lords, but their associated aspect warriors as well. The first one I noticed was the Warhost detachment, which I really like. We've got Blitzing Fusillade, which can only be used at range, but you can grant a squad sustained hits 1, and if you're within 12 inches, then you can give them crits on 5s, which is...
I love seeing a Germanically rooted word in Eldari language.
Ranged attacks?
No, blitzing. Blitzing. It's the Blitzing Fusillade. Sorry, go ahead.
The other detachment I really like, the only one that I've actually gotten to experiment with personally so far, is the Aspect Host. The faction rule is really sweet. I did not mean faction rule. I definitely meant detachment rule, but that's okay. The Path of the Warrior allows every time an Aspect Warrior attacks, you can either reroll hit rolls or wound rolls of 1. That's a really sweet buff. It seems a little counterintuitive, but that actually just gives you a flat 16.67% buff, whichever way you go, regardless of the special rules, which just makes it really flexible.
That's weird.
I know. I already knew this. I literally had to do a bunch of math to verify to myself, because even though I knew that was the case, it just kept not seeming right. Like, that was definitely a case where, like, my intuition didn't really agree with my math knowledge, but that is how it works, I assure you.
All right. Very strange.
My favorite stratagem from that detachment, the Preternatural Precision, which you can use in shooting only again.
Prenatal.
Preternatural
precision.
No, stop picking on the Eldar. I pick on chaos. That's how this works. Basically, you've got like a little bit of what would you call that? A buffet, if you will, of special rules that you can use. You can give them lethals.
A smorgasbord.
A smorgasbord, yes. So you can grant a squad lethals, sustained hits 1, or ignores cover. And if you decide to discard or use a shrine token, then you can select 2 of those things. So you can give a squad both lethals and sustained, or sustained and ignores cover. Whatever ends up just making the most sense there in that particular case. If y'all are interested in the future, I can definitely deep dive into exactly which 2 of those you should choose in different situations, but that's not really the point today.
So the little tokens, the shrine tokens, are only given to aspect warriors, right?
Yes, and Preternatural Precision can only be used on aspect warriors. But since we're talking about all aspect warriors today, I didn't include that little restriction.
Right. No, I'm just curious because of my lack of knowledge about Eldar. And you get 1 per 5 just comes with the squad?
Yeah, 1 per 5. Notably, the only aspects that don't get them are Shining Spears, which is a shame because I love jet bikes and they're the only aspect warriors that have jet bikes. And, I think they're Crimson Hunter, which is technically an aspect warrior that no one ever takes. Literally, there's a flyer that is considered an aspect warrior.
Cool.
Also, in this detachment, we have Warrior Focus, which is situationally amazing. Essentially, it allows you to ignore modifiers, ballistic skill, weapon skill, damage, all that stuff. Just ignore modifiers to your attack, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to talk about more today.
That was how the Deathwing Knights, how you took them down with fewer attacks than usual.
That's how we cracked those nuts, exactly. Although, as somebody caught in the comments, I did actually make a slight error in that. because I was playing around with some settings and included some slightly inflated numbers, but we're going to readdress that today. We'll get there. Other detachments that are really useful in Seer Council, which is another detachment that I'm super excited about, but again, I haven't played yet. You can use Fate Inescapable, which allows you to give a squad ignore cover, and on critical wounds, you get an additional AP -1. You can ignore my note here. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't screw that up.
Fate Inescapable, once again, and excessively epic. Never
What do you
mind.
mean
I don't want to say
excessively?
excessively.
This is Warhammer 40k, my friend. Where have you been?
Fate
The
Inescapable.
great weapon of the unclean one. All right.
Yes.
The Guardian Battle Host gives a pretty nice buff, but only to the Dire Avengers. Essentially what you can do is their detachment rule allows you to call defend at all cost. Dire Avengers and Guardians get +1 to hit if they either are on an objective or are targeting a unit that's on an objective. And that just gives the Dire Avengers just a flat 25% buff, unless they have sustained hits already, and then it's just a 20% buff, but that's pretty nice. Especially just for like a flat detachment rule. Warding Salvos allows you to re-roll wounds against a target that's on an objective. Again, that's only going to be for Dire Avengers. This detachment is fantastic for Dire Avengers, but not so much for the other aspect warriors.
Guardian Battle Host sounds like it's intended for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about Dire Avengers and Guardians. The Blades of Asurmen, you can just give the Dire Avengers the pistol keyword, so if you get stuck in melee, you can just open up on your opponent, which is really nice.
Is Asurmen the guy that has the yin-yang on his chest?
No, that's Asurmen. Completely different.
Oh, silly. Silly me.
Silly monkey.
Asurmen and Asurmen.
And the other thing that I really wanted to mention, because what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some of the Phoenix Lords, and you're not going to take the Phoenix Lords by themselves. There might be exceptions. So, I mean, there are always exceptions. But I stuck all of these Phoenix Lords with a minimum bodyguard squad, which basically puts all these squads at 6-man squads. And one thing that I felt that we really couldn't ignore was that if you have a squad jumping out of the Falcon grav tank and they shoot at a target, then the squad then gets to re-roll wounds against that target for the rest of the turn, which is nuts.
So
yeah, so I just wanted to point out that both Warding Salvos and the Falcon Grav Tank allow you to re-roll wound rolls, and since that was such a common buff, or one that I felt like you could come across easily, and that I felt was basically useful in some way on all of these, I included a little table over here which just kind of tells you how much of a benefit that gives you. So if you're re-rolling wounds, if you're wounding on a 2, then re-rolling gives you a 16.7% increase in damage. Wounding on 3s, 33% damage increase. Wounding on 4s, 50% increase. 5, 66% increase. And if you're wounding on 6s, then reroll wound gives you an 83.3% increase.
Okay, so you're not actually applying any of these detachment rules to the scenarios. You're just looking at them as they are.
Yeah, but I just wanted to point out that there are so many ways to buff these guys so they're even stronger than what I'm going to present now. Yeah. There is...
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So reroll wound gives you all of these buffs. So I'm not saying you should always put the Phoenix Lords and Falcons or anything like that, but I'm saying that if you choose to do that, you get a pretty significant benefit from doing so. I really like this idea.
And the Falcon Grav Tank, that's not detachment dependent. That's just what it grants.
Yeah, that's just like basically the general Eldar tank.
Damn. That's a pretty sweet ability.
Yeah, and it doubles as a transport, but only holding 6 is usually kind of a disadvantage, in my opinion, unless one of those 6 happens to be a Phoenix Lord, in which case, wow. And I'll show you why.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
I know.
Goody, goody.
Okay, so the first one that we wanted to look at was Asurmen. Good old ass man.
Not to be confused with Asurmen.
Yeah, completely different. All right, so Assman has a 7-inch move, toughness 3, 2 up save, 5 wounds. He's got pretty sweet ranged attack with the Bloody Twins, which has the pistol keyword, by the way. You get 6 attacks at 24-inch range, hitting on 2, strength 5, AP 1, damage 2. But this gets so much better. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, wait, what did you say is the name of this weapon?
The Bloody Twins.
The Bloody Twins. Okay, cool. All right, and how does this get even worse? Tell me.
Okay, so first of all, he grants his squad tactical acumen, which essentially gives the whole squad move, shoot, move. So he can move, they can shoot, and then just move another 6 inches. Pop out, shoot something, go back behind a wall. You're safe, no problem.
And he's only to be attached to Guardians and Dire Avengers?
No, he can only be attached to Dire Avengers. So all of these Phoenix Lords,
only Dire Avengers.
They can only be associated or attached to their associated Phoenix Lord. I mean, to their associated Aspect Warriors.
That makes sense. Got it.
Also has the Hand of Asurmen. Asurmen with the Hand of Asurmen. Once per battle, when this model is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does so until the end of the phase, its Bloody Twins weapon has the damage characteristic of 3, anti-infantry 3-up, and devastating wounds.
Holy mother of pearl.
I am so excited to show you what this can do. Yeah, so literally under wound roll, anything that's a 3-up, just straight up three wounds right through. As I learned recently, 3 mortal wounds straight through.
What a monster. Okay, so this is our Terminator killer.
Oh, yes, and you will see that. He also, confusingly in my opinion, I mean, all the Phoenix Lords have both really good ranged and really good close combat. I don't really feel like the rest of his squad wants to be in close combat, but he doesn't really mind so much because he's got the Sword of Asur, which has devastating wounds, 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, AP 3, damage 3. Again, a great Terminator killer profile. Actually, almost an ideal Terminator killer profile.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's nice is if you pair him with Dire Avengers, which you probably should, they also give him sustained hits when he's within half range.
Ooh. Yeah. Damn. And what's his full range? 24? So it's sustained within 12?
Yeah, you get within 12, and now that
not bad.
Really horribly dangerous gun also gets sustained ones. And
damn, I did not expect that
as we
from this guy. He looks like such a wimp.
Whatever. We're so much cooler than you. We don't even need your approval because we're elves. So, and as I mentioned, there's even a stratagem that you can play in one of the detachments that gives him critical hits on 5, so you can get sustained on 5s and 6s if you want to buff him up further.
Oh my god! And then what's the thing where he has, the anti-infantry part of what he has?
That's only on his ranged weapon, yeah. Oh, but that's where you would get the sustained 1 and 2, yeah. Now, he's going to be paired with some Dire Avengers, which are fantastic. Again, moving 7, they're toughness 3, like most of all of the Aspect Warriors that are on foot.
I'm sorry, I want to pause you for a moment. I am loving the way these data sheets look. They are,
I know, Nick is such a badass.
Exquisite. Nick, anyway, we'll thank him later. All the high fives for Nick. They look great.
So, the Dire Avengers, their Shuriken catapults have 18-inch range. They get 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 4, AP 1, damage 1. And if the unit is within half range, they also get sustained hits 1.
Right. What they were giving to Asurmen.
Absolutely. And, you have the option to give the Exarch Power Glaive or a Dire Sword. But the other option is you can just give him 2 Shuriken catapults so he can just Scarface his way into whatever situation. So
Wait. Is this what your guy did to me in that last game?
Yeah. Remember when I just evaporated?
You son of a butt. My Storm Boys popped in and he didn't get 3 6s on an Overwatch or something.
It was
that were sustained hits. He just that was brutal. He Billy the Kidded the crap out of him.
Yeah, the Exarch was literally by himself on an objective on the side of the board, and he just by himself. Oh, I think he had one other dude with him. The two of them just wiped the entire Storm Boys squad as they tried to come in.
It was such bull crap.
It was so good.
But it was awesome. It was cool. I'll allow it. Only if it's cool.
And the Exarch is also going to get a 4-up invuln save, but I mean, they all get a 5-up invuln save anyway. So that's what they do. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to take Assman and the Dire Avengers, and we're going to throw them into a couple of targets. You ready?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So just for you, I decided to throw them into some orcs.
You're such a butthead.
I know. So he's not using the Hand of
What's
Asurmen.
the picture you used there?
What was that?
What's the picture? What's that picture you used there? Looks like he's playing bongos or those coffee beans.
Yeah, dude, he's jamming out.
What's
What are you
happening?
They're orcs having fun. I thought you would understand this.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
sorry.
so the squad is not going to be using the Hand of Asurmen. His one-time buff, whatever the hell that was called, I've already forgotten because there's so many similar names already. Don't tell the other elves I said this. And and what we're doing is I wanted to see what they would do both at range and in close combat. So what we're doing is we're assuming the squad gets in close, blows some orcs away, and then charges in to fight.
And they'll be within 12 inches so they can get their sustained hits and maximize all their juiciness.
Exactly. So we're assuming they're within 9 inches, so that they're within half range.
Oh, because their guns are only 18.
Yeah, their guns are only 18.
Assman.
So
Got it.
with all of them, without the one-time use benefit, they do between 18 and 25 damage, but a lot of that's going to be spillover. Because orcs obviously only have 1 wound, and a lot of these are 2 damage weapons, especially from Asurmen himself. So they're only going to kill between 11 and 15 models, but there is a 77.5% chance you can wipe a 10-man squad of orcs, and just under a 1% chance that you can wipe a 20-man squad.
Damn. Okay, wait. All these these Dire Avengers have 2 damage weapons?
No, but all of Asurmen's weapons are 2 damage, and he's doing a lot of the damage here. But
Got it.
You bring up an important point, because the premise of this video is I wanted people to see what the Phoenix Lords could do, so I wanted to break this down a little bit further. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys the division between the shooting damage and the melee damage. So of all this damage that they did, about 48% of it was done in shooting, and about 52% of it was done in melee.
Wow.
Again, I feel like that is not entirely fair, because you have to remember this doesn't really account for the spillover damage, but just if you're going into something that has roughly this profile, this is about what you can expect. Basically a 50-50 breakdown between what they can do at range and what they can do close up.
Gotcha.
You're also going to notice that Asurmen himself does 68% of that damage. 2/3 of the damage comes from him.
Holy shit.
He's an absolute monster. Honestly, I would love to run him alone, but I mean, any elf just running alone is they're going to get killed. So like, he's got to have some bodyguards. You got to take the Dire Avenger so he just doesn't die immediately due to something stupid.
Right.
I also wanted to point out that
Slip in the mud.
they already have sustained hits. So if you give them sustained hits, you're not going to get any benefit from that. But there is a stratagem that gives you crits on 5s, which I think would give the regular guys a 20% increase to their damage. Slightly less than that to Asurmen. So probably not worth it, but maybe. If you give them lethals, then the rest of the squad is going to get a 40% buff to their damage, and the Lord himself is going to get a 17% buff. So lethals are not terrible in this situation because, I mean, all of the rest of the squad has strength 4, and all the orcs are toughness 5, so they're punching up. So lethals end up being a fairly good idea here.
Cool.
All right.
I mean, not cool. Not if you're killing
Yeah,
orcs.
but
uncool.
as you can see, I mean, this squad is like, what, a little over 200 points. You're probably not going to want to throw them into orcs like this. Also, if there are that many orcs left, I don't want to throw them into close combat, even if Asurmen's going to do a bunch of damage, because then they're probably going to get killed back. So probably not the way I could go, but just so you have a rough breakdown about the damage distribution between melee and range.
That makes sense.
So let's throw them into something.
Yeah, Asurmen is going to double it.
Oh yeah, lest I forget. Comment for the common gods!
Light for the light throne!
All right, so let's go into something that's a little more fitting for them. Like intercessors. So
Yay!
now that they actually have an armor save, I wanted to see what happens if you use the Hand of Asurmen. So remember, that means that he gets sustained hit from 1, he gets critical wounds on 3s, and all of those will be devastating wounds. You are going to be doing 3 damage apiece on those, so there's going to be some splash over damage, but still feel like it's probably worth it here. Check this out. The Bloody Twins by themselves are going to do 12 damage on average. That means, on average, he gets 4 of those through. So that's 4 dead Marines from Asurmen's shooting alone.
Damn.
Doing between 22 and 31 damage, killing between 8 and 11 basic Space Marines. 46.5% chance to wipe a 10-man squad of whatever for Marines. Check out this breakdown. I mean, because a lot of this was done with the Sword of Asurmen, the Sword of Azur. And again, we're assuming that you're also getting into close combat. So in this case, about 64% of the damage was done at range, and about 36% was done in melee. Again, I'm not really so sure about throwing them into a squad in melee. I think what this is really telling me is that this squad will probably not wipe a 10-man squad of Marines if you don't want to throw them into melee, but they'll absolutely demolish 5-man squads or whatever. But it costs you a lot.
And remind me, is this with 5 Dire Avengers or with 10?
With 5. We're using minimum size squads for all of these
5.
guys.
Gotcha.
Also wanted to point out that in this case, the Phoenix Lord is doing 78% of that damage. So Asurmen does 20 damage by himself.
I can see why you've been geeking out so hard on them. I want to do the Phoenix Lords. I want to do the Aspect Host.
That's why I had to run Aspect Host first, because I was like, oh, Phoenix Lords. I love them so much. I want all of them.
I'm excited to see your Jain Zar when you pick it up.
I know, it's going to take me so long to paint all these guys up. So much gray. All right. You don't want to give them sustained hits. They already have sustained hits. You also don't want to give them lethals. I didn't do the math exactly, but because so much of Asurmen's damage when you're using this combo is based on proccing those devastating wounds, if you give him lethals, those hits are just going to go past your devastating wound opportunity, which means giving them lethal hits actually makes them do less damage, which is sort of weird.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've experienced that a couple times in Chaos. It is a painful thing to decide which one you want to go for.
Well, not lethals in this case. Don't do that. So I don't know what the percentage is. Just don't. Not smart. And as you mentioned before, what did you say you thought this squad would be great into?
Terminators.
Let's go into some Terminators. But I got tired of picking on the same Terminators over and over and over again, and I guess I just wanted to pick on Mortarion. But since I know I can't pick on Mortarion, I decided to go after his Terminators instead. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Let's look at some Blight Lord Terminators, which are essentially just Terminators.
Oh, I want them.
I know, they're great.
They're the coolest Terminators ever.
They're Terminators, but they're toughness 6 Terminators.
That makes a difference.
It does. So if we use the Hand of Asurmen again, Asuryan. Again, the fact that they're extra tough and the fact that they have crazy armor saves practically doesn't make a difference. You're still doing 12 wounds, which means Asurmen kills 4 Terminators in shooting by himself.
Oh, damn. That is so demoralizing. If you're a Death Guard player and little skinny little boy Asurmen comes around the corner and just spits out and kills 4 of your dudes, you are just a sad panda.
Oh, but he's not done. Take a look at what the Sword of Azur does. That does like another 5-point-something damage in 3 damage chunks. So he's probably going to kill another 2 Terminators in melee.
Oh my god.
I know.
Oh, that hurts my heart.
So that gives you almost an 80% chance to wipe a 5-man Blight Lord Terminator squad. I'm comfortable with that.
Holy mackerel.
I'll send them on a solo mission, no problem. 4.1% chance to wipe a 10-man squad of Blight Lord Terminators.
Okay, well that's pretty low.
Well, you say pretty low, but think about that. 1 in 20 times, he will just murk an entire gigantic maxed out block of Terminators.
1 in 25.
1 in 20. Okay, you're right. It's more like 1 in 25. But still. I can numbers.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the breakdown.
You can numbers so hard, bro.
I can numbers so hard.
Numbers the hardest.
You have no idea.
Okay, go. I've got an idea.
Okay, so let's see the breakdown again. 73% of this damage is done in shooting. So this kind of tells me that, yeah, because against some targets, I think if you're trying to finish off a squad, it makes sense to jump in. For the most part, I think I'd want to keep them at range. I feel like jumping in is mostly like a last resort when you need to wipe it, because they're so fragile that even a single Terminator fighting back could do significant damage. So you really want to wipe squads. Although, again, they can just move, shoot, move. But if you're getting within 9 and then you're just falling back another 6 inches, you're still in the danger zone. They can still charge you, you know?
Right. It's just the ranged weapon on Asurmen that has the anti-infantry keyword, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And
so like as you start to get up here to the real tough targets, that anti-infantry is pulling more and more weight, which is why you're seeing so much of that shooting damage.
Well, it's the anti-infantry coupled with the devastating wounds, because now they don't get their invulnerable save. They literally never get their invulnerable save against him because he's always critical wounding every time. So.
Oh my God, yeah. But with move, shoot, move, you don't have to fully sacrifice them. You could sprint out and do some damage and run away.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're probably not doing it in 9-inch range for the most part. You're probably going to be further back if you don't intend to charge, because you don't really want to be in charge range unless you intend to finish off the squad that way.
That's a good point. These numbers are reflecting what you would do within 9 inches, which at that point you're not within move, shoot, move, get away from the enemy range.
But if you're within 18-inch range and you move back, that puts you at 24 inches. You're almost completely safe against anything except for, other Eldar.
Oh my God, an Eldar v Eldar game would be something I would love to see on tabletop or 40K and 40.
Seriously, I've never seen an Eldar mirror match. I think that'd be really fun.
Oh my God, it'd be so tricksy. Nobody would have any idea what was going on.
Check this out. In this case, especially because of all those death wounds, Asurmen is doing 88% of the damage here. Like, almost all of it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Again, you know what? Maybe this isn't fair. I said like sustained hits plus 0%, but if you're at 18 inches, yeah, give them the sustained, and then these are the numbers you get. So you can get exactly these results at 18 inches as long as you're willing to spend a CP. But sometimes those CP can be really valuable, especially to an Eldar player where you're really trying to like maximize your stratagem usage.
Maybe this is too early. This might be too early for me to call, but I have to say so far, it seems more like the Phoenix Lords are their own unit, and you're deciding whether or not to put a little bodyguard unit on them. Like it's not, I have Guardians. Do I want to put a Phoenix Lord with them? Or I guess a Dire Avengers. It's really the other. You're like,
I think it's a little too early to say that because we've only looked at this one, and I definitely feel like this one leans pretty heavily to the character. So
okay, so this might be a little bit leaning overly heavy that way. I getcha.
So I mean, Dire Avengers are supposed to be the most common aspect warriors, but I don't really feel like this is necessarily representative. If you're using the Hand of Asurmen, do not give them lethal hits. Just don't. That's a bad choice.
Because all the devastating wounds are wasted.
Yeah, I mean, it helps the basic squad out, but it does not help him out at all. You're actually hurting him.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for another Phoenix Lord?
Yeah, I'm really excited for seeing who you pick next. I don't really like Asurmen. He's dumb. Yay, my favorite. I love the Banshees. They're so cool.
Jain Zar is probably my favorite looking Phoenix Lord. Well, except for Lycus, maybe. I really love the new Phoenix Lord. But I love this model. I think she looks so dynamic and awesome. And I'm very excited to buy one.
I'm weird. I don't care for Jain Zar, but I love the Banshees. Also, while making the cover art for that video the other week, I was shocked to see that the Banshees and the Deathwing Knights have exactly the same color palette.
Oh, interesting. I never considered that.
Yeah.
Although they've got some red in them.
I didn't.
There's no red in the...
Yeah, there's... Yeah, there is.
You're right.
I'm fairly sure I saw red.
No,
yeah.
I do commonly see that in there. That's such an interesting coincidence.
They're exactly the same color. Anyway, not important. Anyway, also, Jain Zar's lame, but a powerhouse.
No, she's awesome.
No, babe. Wrong.
Her, basically what she does is she allows the Banshees, who are already fast as hell, to auto-advance 6 inches, and they can advance and charge, which means your squad is going, 14 inches before it charges, and if you're using one of your tokens, what the heck are they called? Oh my god, I've already forgotten.
The shrine tokens.
Nope, it's their faction rule. They get a bunch of...
Somebody will tell us.
Yeah, somebody will remind us. Oh, I can't believe I've forgotten. Anyway, she also can re-roll wound rolls against characters, which makes her pretty nice at picking characters out of squads, given how just lethal she is in close combat.
What a crazy missile. Move 14 inches and then charge and have precision. No.
Well, you can also give the squad another plus 2 inches move, so 16 inches and then charge.
No, that's so many lame. Okay, it's cool though. It's cool and lame.
So
whenever your army gets it, it's lame.
Yes, I'm used to this from you. Okay.
I'm a sour
at range, she has the Silent Death, which is this cool looking thing up here. I guess like her Triskelay. And at 12 inches, you got 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, AP 2, damage 1. So you got some nice ranged attacks. And then up close, she has the Blade of Destruction, which has anti-infantry 3 up, 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 6, which doesn't matter because you're going to be wounding on 3s no matter what. AP 3, damage 2. Just fantastic Marine killer.
That is absolutely brutal. Anti-infantry 3+. That's what Asurmen had that on his gun. Now
once
the Banshees have it
once
in
per
their
game,
or
though.
Jain Zar.
She just gets it all the time.
Damn, Asurmen gets it once per game.
Yeah, exactly. But she also doesn't have any other special rules to proc off of that, because Asurmen got anti-infantry 3 up and devastating wounds, which is an insane combo. In addition to Jain Zar, let's take a look at her bodyguard really quick, because she comes with the Howling Banshees, which I know are your favorite aspect warriors. They're pretty close to mine, too.
Oh, so cool.
I just have one I like more. Y'all can guess what my favorite aspect warrior is. And essentially the Howling Banshees, they've all got shuriken pistols. Nothing really to write home about. But in melee, they've got Banshee Blades, which are anti-infantry 3 up. They only get 2 attacks apiece now, but they hit on 2, strength 4, doesn't matter if you're going into infantry, AP 2, damage 2. They are also really, really mean into basic Marines.
Oh, anti-infantry 3+ is so brutal, dude.
Well, again, though, they only have 2 attacks, though. So, I mean, they're paying for it. But the point is, those attacks should be wounding. Now...
Wow, yeah.
So the Exarch has a choice between the Executioner and the Mirror Swords. I have a hard time with this because I personally like to give them the Executioner just to have this extra damage 3, AP 3 weapon. But I feel like the rest of the squad really wants to go into damage 2 stuff. So when I'm placing her with Jain Zar, or placing them with Jain Zar, I would prefer to give them the Mirror Swords, because then you just end up with 4 attacks that basically have the same profile as everything else, instead of having 3 attacks of this thing, which might give you wasted damage, because you don't really want to go into damage.
And has a different preferred target.
Yeah, it has a different preferred target. So again, if I was running them by themselves, I'd probably give them the Executioner, but with Jain Zar, I've decided to give them the Mirror Swords.
That makes sense. Is your favorite the Dark Reapers or whatever?
No, also you can't guess. Do y'all know better than my brother does?
Is it the... It's got to be the Warp
Stop
Spiders.
guessing. Let the audience guess.
I should know this. I'm a bad brother.
You should.
All right.
All right.
Okay, what else is happening with
So
the Banshees?
the Banshees, as I mentioned before, they can advance and charge, which is really nice. And they have a 5-up invulnerable save, but a 4-up invulnerable save in close combat. So a little more durable. But
okay.
again, as we learned in our last game, if I misplay them, you will just shoot them all to death immediately.
Yes, I was using the tactical brigade with my orcs, and my boomdaka snazwagon got +1 to hit, and then screeched around the corner and got the tiniest sliver of sight, and then cleaned up almost the whole squad.
Yeah, you're able to see the one chick's like elbow, and then you're like, perfect, and then gun them all down.
The entire squad's vital organs are in that one dude's elbow.
Okay, so let's see what these guys can do. Jane, I love you. All right, so first of all, I wanted to throw them into some legionaries. It's only fair when it intercessors first, just for you, bro.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll allow it. Whatever.
But
You smell bad.
I also really like these guys because there's no question of after you shoot with them, are you going to take the risk of charging? Because they're a melee aspect, so you're going to charge in. So we've got some nice damage at range, but then we're doing a lot more in close combat. So you're going to do 19.2 damage, killing an average of 9.3 legionnaires or marine bodies in one go. 98.5% chance of wiping a 5-man squad, 47-ish% chance to wipe a 10-man squad.
Dude, they're just something to really fear. The Banshees are just a kamikaze absolute weapon.
Well, yeah, it does kind of seem like they're likely to die, although I will say I really need to test this more extensively, but I am super stoked on these guys coming out of a Falcon because you jump them out, you shoot with the Falcon at a target, you charge them in, you get the Falcon to come along behind them so they're all within 6 inches, and if you wipe the squad, then you can just pull them back into your transport at the end of the fight phase. And if you don't wipe the squad, then when your opponent falls back, you can use your faction ability to get a free move and get back into the Falcon. So it's essentially like another one of these squads that appears, kills stuff, and disappears before you really get a chance to do anything about it. But these guys can do it in melee, if you're careful.
But wait. I need to confirm this. So they can get out and then charge something and kill it, and then get back in the Falcon?
Well, remember, because they have to get out in the movement phase. So you get them out before the Falcon moves. You move them up. You move the Falcon up next to the unit that you want to charge, and then you charge them. So now the Falcon is basically up where the Banshees are. And if you kill the squad, then there are stratagems that allow you to get back into a transport in the fight phase. And if you fail to kill the squad, then you have the faction ability token, which allows you to, when something falls back, you get a free move. So if they fall back, you move to the Falcon, get back in.
Oh my God, there's just, that's insane. I was about to say, because you can't use a consolidate move to get in. You have to make a normal move of some kind to make it into a transport, right?
I'm almost positive about that. But again, you can use one of their faction tokens. I'm so mad I can't remember what they're called right now. But one of them is if your opponent falls back, then you get a die 6 plus 1 inch regular move. Battle focus tokens. That's what they're called.
Yes. I should have. Yeah, okay, I remember now.
Right. So kill the squad or don't, you can still get back into that Falcon as long as there's still some left. I mean, the bad news is your Falcon is probably going to be in a relatively exposed position, but I mean, it's a lot less vulnerable than the Banshees are, you know?
Right. They're squish.
So based on your observations from the last one, let's take a look at the breakdown again, because in this case, they're doing about 15% of their damage at range and about 85% of their damage in melee.
That makes sense.
And in terms of the damage distribution, it's almost exactly 50% Jain Zar, 50% the rest of the squad.
Wow, okay.
So the Banshees are actually more cost effective for the damage they're actually doing, but Jain Zar also gives them, a guaranteed 6-inch advance.
That is a really big difference. And is she as expensive as the 5-person, 5-elf squad?
She's actually more expensive. But again, if you decide to take 10 Banshees instead, you can't stick them in a Falcon anymore. So like this whole combo only works if you can, get the squad to be 6 men or 6 women or less, 6 elves or less.
But if you get to go full Batman though, where you jump out, kill some stuff, and disappear, like that seems worth it.
Not gonna lie, that's definitely a trend I'm seeing from this codex so far. There's a lot of doing damage and disappearing into the dark.
You elf players.
Okay, so
okay,
this one is important because I pinned this comment to the top of the last video, but when I did the Deathwing Knights video, I had made a little error. I used the wrong version of this Aspect Warrior to go into the Deathwing Knights and made them look a little more damaging than they were. So what I want to do is I want to throw them into the Deathwing Knights again, but I'm going to do it twice. First, I'm going to do it just basic with no buffs, so you can see how good or underwhelming they happen to be in that case. And then we're going to do it again where I just max them out.
Okay.
All right.
All right, because they get like is there a way for them to ignore modifiers? I think I remember something in the intro where you were saying that.
There is. In only one
gonna
detachment,
make a
though,
difference.
you'd have to be in the Aspect Host. So the Deathwing Knights again,
well, let's
they
see
are
this.
Terminators with 4 wounds, and critically, they are -1 damage. So if you can't remove that -1 damage, then the Banshees are actually not that great into them. You're going to kill 1 or 2 of them, which is a little harsh. Basically, I wish I'd included them. There is some chance that you'll be able to kill all 5, but the odds are very, very slim.
Negligible.
They're negligible. So, I mean, I do want to clear this up. The Banshees, if they're not getting supported, don't put them into Deathwing Knights. Like the whole purpose of that combo was to have it in the Aspect Host so you could remove their damage debuff and give them some other buffs. But I just wanted to show you this just for a basis comparison. In this case, they're doing, again, like 74% of their damage in melee, and their damage output, again, is almost 50-50. It's like 52% Jain Zar, 48% the rest of the squad. But
Okay.
let's buff these ladies as much as we can. So,
Yeah, 1 to 2 Deathwing Knights is just not.
Oh, and then you die. And then you die.
and then you die.
So here's the thing. If you put them in the Aspect Host, then they get to reroll ones to hit, which gives them a 17-ish% boost. Sorry, 17-ish% boost to their damage. If you have them coming out of the Falcon, they get another 33% boost. And by the way, those aren't linear. You're plus 17%, and then from that, plus 33%. And then if you play Warrior Focus, you take away the Knight's -1 damage, which then basically doubles their damage on top of everything else.
Wow. Okay, so you're in Aspect Host. They came out of the Falcon to get the reroll wounds, and they're using the stratagem.
Yeah.
Warrior Focus is a
Warrior
stratagem.
Focus is a stratagem.
That gives them ignore modifiers, therefore nullifying the -1 damage. All
Exactly.
right, let's see what this does.
So now you're going to kill between 4 and 6 of them.
Hey,
Yeah.
that'll do, because they can only come in 5s,
Exactly.
right?
They only come in 5s now. And
That'll do.
again, you can see at range they're not really doing very much, but up close, that's really mean. They're doing an average of 20.5 damage, basically, giving them a basically 58% chance to wipe the squad. And if there's one left, I mean, you have an 86% chance to wipe all but one of them. Actually, that one Deathwing Knight would probably kill a lot of them anyway, but you can nuke the squad.
Yes, you're
pretty
probably
comfortably.
still mostly dead.
And in this case,
And what is the points cost combined Jain Zar plus 5 Banshees approximately?
I think Jain Zar is 105 points, and the Banshees are 90, so I think that's 195. I could be off by a few, but I think it's like right around or maybe just under 200 points.
Dang, okay.
And again,
That's a pretty good a good trade.
take a look at this. 85% of their damage in melee. And again, Jain Zar is only doing 46% of that damage.
Dang, okay.
Which is
But she did help deliver them.
She does help deliver them, and she makes the squad small enough that you can stick them in a Falcon, because you can't put 10 in a Falcon.
Right.
All right.
Dude, 4 to 6, that's a pretty sweet number there. You're feeling good if you traded out your 5 Banshees and Jain Zar for 5 Deathwing Knights.
In some ways, she's one of the Phoenix Lords that I feel the most questionable about, because, again, like, she doesn't actually make up her points from the damage. It's really about the other things that she brings to the table. The fact that she allows you to have a lot of damage in a very compact space, and the fact that she makes it easier to deliver them. But in terms of like raw damage output, she's actually not quite as good as just having a bunch of Banshees. But I mean, you know that I really value flexibility. I really like mobility. That's just the way I prefer to play the game, especially as an elf. So I feel like she's worth it, but not by a gigantic margin.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. And then this is a purely aesthetic question. Some of the Banshees I've seen have a double-headed staff blade thing.
That's the
Is that
executioner.
different than the...
So
I think that is so cool.
I know. Well, I've got some old ones from the 90s, which I wish I could show you guys,
Of
but
course you
I'm
do.
not in my home studio, so I don't have them with me. I absolutely love them. But yeah, so the two options are like the staff, the executioner, or the mirror blades, which is just like 2 swords, just double-handing swords, which I also think looks really cool.
That's cool too. But that can't be as cool as a double-headed staff sword blade thing. That thing is awesome.
Maybe
Anyway.
it's Joseph's influence, but I just love the idea of just like this badass warrior woman coming out just like dual wielding swords. They can just mince anything. That's so cool. I have one more Phoenix Lord that I want to share with you today, which is and
We had the Banshees, we had Ass Man.
Fuegan. Fuegan? Fuegan.
Fuegan. Fuegan.
Fuegan. Fuegan.
Well, if it's
Fuegan?
Spanish, then it's Fuegan.
Okay, Fuegan. I think that's probably what it is. So,
If it's
Fuegan-
Germanic, then he's Fuegan.
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 All right. So Fuegan can move 7 inches, toughness 3, 2 up save, 5 wounds. Basically the standard Phoenix Lord profile. Special abilities, in my opinion, this is the reason you take him, because he increases the range of all of his units' weapons by 6 inches. And if you're trying to get into a melter range, that means you're increasing the melter range of all of your weapons by 3 inches, which can be a big deal.
Yeah. What's the Melta profile on the guns? It's like Melta 2 or something on their elf melter
I'll
guns.
take a look at that next, but if we're looking at the Sierra song, his big weapon in Lance mode has Melta 6. So... so being in melter range matters.
That's ridiculous. Wow. Holy crap. Sorry. Anyway, I'm crying a little
And
bit.
because of the other special rule, by the way, this is the special rule that made Nick just be like, I think this model is BS. Like, this is not
Yay.
He's got
Now
unquenchable
Nick can be on
resolve,
our
which
team.
is if he dies, you roll a d6 and he just stands back up. He's like, no, I'm fine. He's got full wounds and everything. So
At the end of the phase, right?
end of the phase. So if you shoot him dead, he just
okay.
stands back up and you got to take him in close combat. Kill him in close combat, you're just out of luck. He's going to be fine. 5 out of 6 times.
Oh my God. That is tragic.
I don't like the 2-up thing though, because it's weird because you feel like you can rely on it, but then just 1 in 6 times, 1 in 6 games that you play, he'll just be doing something important, and you roll the dice, and you're like, no, actually he doesn't get back up. He's really dead. And he just like screws your whole
I
strategy.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool.
You know what? That's probably what makes it more fair, is that like it's really powerful, but it's not entirely reliable. It's fairly reliable though.
Although knowing you, if you roll it, it will never be a 1. Ever.
The dice gods love me. What can I
I
say?
have a theory that because Blake is such a good sport when we play all the time, that the dice gods love him more and therefore let him roll better. It's not all this math. That's not what does it. It's his good sportiness.
All right, so check this out.
I hate you.
So his weapon, the Seer Song, has 2 modes. Essentially, there's the Lance mode, which I feel like is the normal mode, which is Assault and Melta 6. 18 inches, 1 attack, hitting on 2, strength 14, AP 4, damage D6. So he actually...
That's so brutal.
And he extends the range of his own gun. So he actually shoots 24 inches. If you get within 12 inches, he's doing D6 plus 6 damage to whatever he hits. Which is...
That's insane. He could one-shot a frickin' rhino.
Yeah, he could. He could one-shot... Is the gladiator 12 wounds or is it 14 wounds?
I don't know things.
I think we're about to find out. You'll see.
Oh, is he about to shoot into a rhino? That's
No, not a
perfect for
rhino. I don't care about rhino. Nobody wants to use him on a rhino. That's ridiculous. Don't be silly. He also has basically like a beam mode, which is, I guess, if you're going after infantry, which is Melta 1, sustained hits 2, which is pretty sweet. 12-inch range now, so can't shoot as far. 3 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, AP 3, damage 2. And remember, you can feed your shrine tokens from your squad to change one of his hit rolls to a 6. So you just roll those 3 dice, and if one of them misses, you're like, no, actually that hits, and it gives me 2 extra hits. No problem.
That hit 3 times instead of...
No, I didn't miss. 0. I triple hit.
That's so Eldar.
So Eldar.
That's so Eldar.
Now, I'm kind of... he actually does have some decent melee, but I feel weird about it because I'm like, he's an anti-tank squad. His squad really doesn't want to be in melee, and they absolutely don't want to be in melee with a tank. And he doesn't even really want to be in melee with a tank. I don't know why his weapon profile is this. In close combat, he's got the fire axe, which is not anywhere near as epic as it should be. 6 attacks, hitting onto strength 5, which again is just going to bounce off armored hulls. AP 4 for some reason, in case you do manage that, and damage 3.
What do you mean it's not anywhere near as epic as it should be? That's insanely epic.
I'm just saying, if like you have this dude coming out with the great weapon of the unclean one, and you have Fuegan coming out, and he's like, I have fire axe. That just
I think the name.
the
I
name
see.
is
I
not
see.
very epic.
I think
it seems like a little bit of a fail.
I think you're referencing. I think if you're talking about the Dark Angels, that's the great weapon of the unforgiven.
Oh yes, the great weapon of the unforgiven. My bad. I don't know.
But Fuegan has fire axe.
All I'm saying is all Monkey weapons are unclean. That's it.
All right. All what weapons?
Monkey. That's what Eldar call humans.
Are you serious? That's racist as hell. I love it.
What can I say?
That's
We're just the
amazing.
cool
All right,
kids.
go ahead. You sure are. That you got. Oh God.
Okay. So let's throw them into some target. Oh wait, actually, we got to take a look at the fire dragons too. Fire dragons critically get to reroll hit rolls, reroll wound rolls, reroll damage rolls if they're going into vehicles or monsters. And they are basically Melta weapons. They got 12-inch range, Melta 3, hitting on 3, strength 9, which would suck, except they get to reroll their wound rolls, AP 4, and damage D6. And if you're Melta range, damage D6 plus 3.
I love friggin' Meltas. I remember watching Jay when he was doing one of his videos. I don't know. He's like, yeah, or you could put a Melta gun on it, which is an absolute tank destroyer that doesn't have the strength to damage most tanks. And I was like, yeah, yes, that's literally exactly how I feel about it.
Apt observation, Jay, for sure.
Perfect.
All right, so let's throw them into some targets. First of all, we're going to go into Gladiator. Oh, I was right. He does have a 12 wounds, which means Fuegan could totally one-shot a Gladiator tank.
Wow.
Dude, look at this. I did assume that we're in Melta range because I wanted to see what they could really do. But if you're in Melta range, you're going to do 25 to 38 damage to this poor little 12-wound vehicle.
Wow. And I do see way down there next to the 6, there is a little tiny spike. There's like nothing, then a near the very bottom. Right, because he's in Melta range, so that's where to the left of that's where all of his shots fail.
Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly.
I love it. That's
so
amazing.
notice, they've got 98% chance to kill this thing.
Oh, jeez, with 5 of them again, right? This is Fuegan and
minimum
5?
squads, yeah, this is just Fuegan and 5.
Oh my lord.
I do want you to notice, though, like, it's not super apparent looking at this graph, but their damage range is 25 to 38, which is actually fairly swingy. You know, because you've got a...
That is fairly swingy.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad distribution. So if we do the breakdown, we're going to find out that 92% of that damage was done at range. So again, like, don't throw them into melee. You're only going to get another 3 damage out of it, and now you're stuck in melee.
No, it's a last resort if Fuegan has to run in and try and do something with fire axe.
Well, I mean, I guess the good news is that if you're trying to get it within melter range, you've got to be within 9 inches for the regular squad. So if you do fail, you do have the option to charge because you're definitely going to be in charge range. But yeah, I agree with you. That's a last resort. You don't do that unless you really have to.
It's also a little bit of a deterrent because he's running around like you might be tempted to just throw something easy with some, close combat at them, but he'll turn around and he'll spank you if you're not careful.
You know, that seems really obvious now. I didn't think about that. So the fire axe is much more effective as like a deterrent or like a defensive weapon than an offensive weapon. That's a really good observation.
Don't come in here.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does.
I'll fire axe your ass.
Because otherwise, like they're so squishy and they're so bad at close combat. If you touch them with anything, they're just going to die. But I mean, that's
And when they get into close combat, all the fire dragons are going to die, and then Fuegan will be left alone, and then he's going to spank you right in the butt.
And if you do kill him, he just springs back up. He's like, "No, I'm fine."
And then he spanks you right in the butt.
So again, take a look at the distribution here. Here, Fuegan only does 36% of the damage, as opposed to the squad doing 64% of the damage. So the rest of the squad does a lot of damage, but the reason Fuegan is so useful is because he extends their threat range so much. You go from a squad that you have to get within 12 inches in order to shoot at all, have to get within 6 inches in order to get melter range, to now they're able to hit at 18 inches, which might even theoretically keep you safe from charges from most things. And now your melter range is 9, which, I mean, I realize that's only a 50% increase, but to me, the difference between 6 and 9 is huge. You know?
Yeah, that makes a really big difference.
It also just gives you a lot more options in terms of where to place your squad. Because, like, if you have a squad and you increase the radius of the circle, I guess, by 50%, that's like, in terms of area, that gives you like twice as many places where you can place your squad and still successfully hit them.
Yeah, math for me real quick. If our radius is 50% bigger than our area of our circle is 100% bigger, approximately?
Well, it'd be 225% bigger. Or 225% the size,
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it doubles the number of places, theoretically, where you can place the squad and still manage to do this.
Although it is worth noting that the further something is away, the higher probability that it is obscured by some piece of terrain. So that doesn't really cover. But still, nonetheless, very cool.
At some point, I really want to do a tournament layout analysis, but I still feel like that's a little ways away.
Yeah, it sounds like it has some geometry in it. That's
I'm actually really excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm going to have to make a whole new program for it. We'll get there. All right, let's see what else we got.
All right, so
if you give them sustained hits, then the squad will get 25% more damage out, and Fuegan will get 20% more damage out. If you give them lethals, then the squad gets 20% increase in damage, and since Fuegan's strength 14, he only gets a 2% boost to his damage. But I mean, it's not nothing. But
2%?
2%. Because he's going to be wounding 8 out of 9 times. So getting the lethals just doesn't really matter very much for him.
2% seems like the wrong number.
Well, we could math it out again. I'm probably showing you the calculations on the screen to justify this at this exact moment.
Okay. I'll just pretend I can see it and hope the math wizards in the comments can confirm for me.
Yeah.
Test this mother.
Well, it's because check this out. He's hitting on 2s, and what that allows is that if you get a lethal, then on a 6, you're going to get a 16% increase. So if you get a 16% increase on 1/5 of your attacks, you're right. That seems like it should be closer to 3. but it's...
Oh, well, it's still pretty close.
Yeah, it's right in that ballpark. I'll show the calculations.
Because it's like 0.16 times 0.16.
Well, no, it would... Well, yeah, all right. I'm showing the math. Okay.
All right,
Moving
cool.
on.
Let's just assume everyone gets it
Yeah.
now.
Glad y'all can understand this better than he can. Of course, they get to actually see the math. All right. Anyway, I'm moving on. I'm teasing you now. Okay.
Sure.
After the gladiator tank, let's go into something a little tougher, something I haven't tried to go in before. My first thought, of course, was Mortarion, but I'm tired of Mortarion at the moment. Mortarion! All right. So Angron, of course, has a 4-up invulnerable save, toughness 12 or toughness 11, 16 wounds. They're going to do between 9 and 21 damage, which again is a gigantic spread. They get so swingy.
That's a really big spread.
Yeah. Also, look at the most likely outcome again.
That's a big bounce number.
Yeah, it's like
The bounce bar is tall.
6.5% tall. That's so frustrating. But
Oh, that could hurt so bad.
so honestly, Angron is really tough, and they still have a 48.5% chance of killing him when he's like fresh, which I think is pretty sweet. Also, unfortunately, Angron just sort of like pops back up again all the time, which is annoying.
Oh, that must be really annoying for you when you throw in.
I played a game once where I killed Angron 3 different times. I just wanted to highlight for a moment that Angron has about a 13.5% chance to revive on any given turn. That's when I learned that you're not supposed to pour everything into Angron because he just comes back and disappoints you.
You're just supposed to tie him down like Lily Peaches.
Yeah, I don't know what you're... Anyway. I was so frustrated I only faced it once. All right, so 91% of this damage is going to be at range. Again, Fuegan himself is only doing 37% of that damage. And if you give them lethal hits, if you give them sustained hits, they're going to get another 20 to 25% boost, which does put you over the hump. You're more than 50% now, but yeah, lethals are only going to be so effective. But again, if you gave them either lethals or sustained, especially if you gave them both, because they would literally just stack, your odds of killing Angron go up quite a bit. Oh, wait. No, he's got the Seer Song. So he's doing 4.4 damage, and the squad is using the Fire Pike and the Dragon Fusion Gun. Actually, you know what? This isn't entirely accurate because I forgot about the Fire Pike. That's what you would get on the Fusion Gun, because the Fire Pike is actually strength as well. So I think the Fire Pike also only gets a 2% buff from lethals. Oh, yeah, the sustain part is actually accurate, but the lethals, you gotta wait that.
And then Fuegan runs in and tries with his little fire axe to try and take him out at the end. And if you
I
fail,
love that.
they're definitely
The whole
dead.
squad combined just does like 1.44 damage in melee. Just
Oh my god!
even in desperation, you probably don't want to do that. You probably want to make him chase you at that point.
Some Tom and Jerry right there.
Now, here's the thing, though.
Oh, man.
Is that I noticed that Fuegan's weapon has a beam setting, and I just wanted to see what he could do with the beam setting, if he could take down some infantry. So I decided to throw them into some Alaris Custodians. Unfortunately, these are wound 4, and the fusion guns are going to be doing... Oh, I'm sorry. The fire... Oh, so Fuegan's weapon is going to be doing 3 damage at a time, which is a little bit unfortunate in this particular matchup. He's probably going to do a little bit better against other Terminator types. But if you're going to infantry, they no longer get to reroll hits. They no longer get to reroll wounds. They no longer get to reroll damage. They're only going to kill 1 or 2 of these guys. So... I kind of wish I had done some regular Terminators for these, but the point that I was trying to make is that, especially if you're investing all of this points in the squad, you probably want to primarily go after vehicles. They seem a little bit wasted on heavy infantry to me, because they just don't have enough shots, you know? So we've covered 3 of those 6 Phoenix Lords, and we've got a few more to go. So if you want to see the rest, tune in next week. And until then, I think Nick's got to go play some D&D, so we got to get the hell out of here. Buy our stuff, support our channel. We really want to keep doing this. We really like doing it. Also, it was really fun hanging out with you guys. And bye. Have fun.
Thank
bye,
you for watching another episode of Warp Hammer Math. Emperor!
All right, calm. No, what? No, we hate the unclean one.